I shared a few travel stories in this season that kind of centered around this theme of like Svi and I do dangerous things when we travel. But those stories really tied into this core idea of being true to who you are and knowing when to say no to something, knowing when something doesn't feel aligned with your values, knowing how to use your voice and get in touch with your voice. And all of this really comes down to navigating that gap between who I think I'm supposed to be and what's the nice, quiet version of how to handle the situation and who I actually am. You're listening to the Bold Women in Business podcast, the show for women who are building something that actually matters and who are ready to stop hiding behind the polished and perfect and start showing up as their bold, magnetic, human AF selves. I'm Rachel Honeyman, your guide to finding your true magic and putting it front and center in your brand. I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Quick pause. I want to tell you about a tool I use in my business every single day that I could not live without, NeedleCal. It's a calendar booking tool that lets anyone who wants to book a call with me, whether that's a potential client, an existing client, or anyone in between, to just click a link, pick a time, and boom, we're done. None of that back and forth email nonsense we all hate. I switched to NeedleCal from Calendly because, frankly, the pricing was getting ridiculous. And NeedleCal is not even in the same ballpark as any of their competitors. But they're not cutting corners. They offer the same features as everyone else, but they intentionally keep their prices low because they believe in making their products accessible to small business owners like you and me. And as someone who talks a lot about building a sustainable business, that mission means a lot to me. With NeedleCal, you can customize everything. You can brand your calendars, the settings are super flexible, and you can have as many calendars as you like. And I should know because I've got about 1 million of them. If you are paying through the nose for Calendly or another calendar booking tool, seriously go check out NeedleCal. The link is in the show notes and you can thank me later. Okay, let's get back to the episode. Hello, beautiful human, and welcome back to the show. This is a little wild, but today is the season 4 finale, and it's episode 82, which, I don't know, if you asked me when I launched this thing, probably close to 2 years ago, I don't remember the exact date of when we officially launched, I definitely would not have predicted that I would be here 80-something episodes later and with no signs of stopping. We're in this for the long haul, and I so appreciate you being in this for the long haul with me. And I just have to say that it means so much to me, every one of you who has reached out and shared your feedback and shared what episodes really resonated with you, what topics you want me to address. You know, this show is for you. It's not for me. So it's really, really helpful when you share that feedback. And it means so much when I hear that from you. And so I'm just feeling really grateful to have all of you here and to know that a lot of the things that I've shared have really been helpful for many of you. So I will keep sharing it as long as it's helpful. And I'd love to hear more feedback from you, period. Really, really helpful. Anytime we kind of come to the end of something, it's a good opportunity to reflect and look back. And I have to be honest, when I mapped out this season, I had some ideas of like what direction I wanted this season to take. But I didn't necessarily have kind of an overarching theme for the season. There were just some specific changes that I knew were coming. The 3 big ones were I introduced video into the mix, which has been really fun. And I don't know yet if we're going to continue it or not. That's something that my team and I have to figure out. Does it make sense to continue with video or not? But it's been a lot of fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. The second big change is that I introduced my first podcast partner, NeedleCal. You've heard me talk about them. I probably just did an ad for them in this episode. So you heard me talk about NeedleCal a lot. And that was a really exciting development for kind of the growth of my show to bring in a really aligned partner. And that's something that I definitely want to bring forward into future seasons. And the third and most important piece that shifted this season was our episodes went just much deeper. There were episodes focused on more kind of practical changes that you can make in your business, but a lot of the episodes were much more focused on the deeper parts of our businesses and the deeper parts of like what makes us purpose-driven entrepreneurs and how to bring that purpose into our businesses and do it in a way that doesn't make us burn out and all of those pieces. And we got really, really deep, both in the solo episodes and in the guest episodes. But really, I did not plan out some like theme for this season. However, when I look back, I see that there actually was a clear thread. And so I must have had something going on in my head, really focused on this. It is a very common theme that I talk about, so it's not surprising, but I really did see this come up over and over and over again across all of the episodes of this season. And that theme really comes down to the gap between this version of yourself you think you're supposed to be and who you actually are, and really tapping into the truth of who you are. So I pulled up my episode list here. So if you see me looking at my computer, that's why. Or if you're listening, that's what's happening here. So I want to just do kind of a review of like how this theme came up over and over and over again. I shared a few travel stories in this season that kind of centered around this theme of like Svi and I do dangerous things when we travel. So I don't know what that says about us, but those stories really tied into this core idea of being true to who you are and knowing when to say no to something, knowing when something doesn't feel aligned with your values, knowing how to use your voice and get in touch with your voice. And all of this really comes down to navigating that gap between who I think I'm supposed to be and like what's the nice, quiet version of how to handle this situation and who I actually am, and being really true to who I am at my core and what my values are and all of that. I brought Svi onto the podcast. That was really cool. And obviously that whole episode was centered around how to really build a values-driven business and what it really means to build a values-driven life. And that takes real inner work to truly get in touch with who you are and what matters to you. So, so powerful. I brought in a lot of like childhood stories and 90s nostalgia and kind of tied it to the same idea. So the second episode of the season was focused around the Spice Girls and 90s music icons. And really what that tied back to was this quiz that I have on my website for free. It's at honeybeeble.com/quiz that you can take to really identify your content marketing power type. What type of content really feels natural to you, and really honoring like who you actually are instead of trying to perform something that you're not. I shared about my middle school lunchtime shows that I used to put on and how I kind of just embraced being the weird kid until I learned not to, because that's what we are taught to do. We are taught to just tamp that down. And what really shifted things in my business was just getting back in touch with that weird kid and owning it and saying like, I'm the weird kid and that's what makes me special. And that's what's going to attract people to me. And sure enough, it has. So many of the other guest episodes tied back to that same idea. I had Monika Kunz on to talk about those patterns that we bring with us from a maybe corporate environment into our businesses, and really those patterns that come from childhood that we bring into our businesses too. And again, the way to really navigate that is to, first of all, recognize it, be real with yourself, be true to yourself, and recognize those patterns. Don't hide from them, face them head on, and really get to know who you actually are and what matters to you, what is going to drive your business forward in a way that feels aligned to you and doesn't feel like you're just trying to make someone else happy. I had Liza Vou Goje on to talk about the clothes that we wear and image and identity and all of those pieces of how we show up in the world. And I approach it from a brand and content and website side of things, but she approaches it from a clothing standpoint. And those are so interlinked. And that episode was so powerful, like beyond powerful. So if you haven't listened to that, go listen to it for real. You should go listen to all the episodes of the season. If you haven't, go catch up. You'll have a little time. But that episode in particular was one of my favorites. Okay, another one of my favorite episodes. Who am I kidding? They're all my favorites. I love them all. They were fantastic. It's really hard to pick. But one of my favorite episodes was the episode where I shared the drawing that I did of my brother who passed away 13 years ago. I can never do the math, but it's been almost 13 years. And that was just such a special episode because I got to share a little piece of my brother with you and also talk about this idea of the messages that we tell ourselves and the things that we tell ourselves we're just not good at when really we haven't given it a chance. And again, same theme, right? You got to really be real with who you are and give yourself a chance to discover your innate talents. I talked with Megs Daley about nervous system regulation and so much more. That was another really deep conversation. And I think that's such a huge piece of this deep inner work of really getting to know yourself and understanding what you stand for and understanding what matters to you. You need to have some nervous system regulation involved in that because it is hard on the nervous system to do this work. It's really tough. This is part of why I do this work with my clients to help kind of guide them through it so they're not just going through it alone. And that I think helps. But you do need to have some tools in your tool belt for how am I going to sit with this and actually get to know myself and be okay if there are things that come up that I don't like. And that was a really, really powerful conversation. If you listened to last week's episode with Peter Giordano, my business coach, you might be wondering, like, how does that tie in? We talked about pricing. Well, if you really listen to the episode, you know that identity is such a huge part of pricing. And it's so much about how we see ourselves and really kind of stepping into who we are. So it very much ties in. But I did want to leave you with like a very practical, take this, apply it. It's going to make a massive difference in your business. So all in all, this was an incredible season. Truly, I don't know, not to pat myself on my own back, but I think I outdid myself. It really came together in such a beautiful way. And every episode was so packed full of value and meaning and depth. And the lineup of guests was incredible. And all I can say is I actually think I'm going to outdo myself again in season 5 because I've got big things planned, amazing guests, all of that. But if you missed any episodes for season 4, don't worry. You've got a chance to catch up because I'm going to be taking a little break from the pod. Don't worry, not too long, probably about a month or so, just to give me and my team a chance to regroup. It's a lot of work to put this podcast together. It is very much a labor of love. And so we need a little time to catch our breath and relax a little bit before we head into the next season. Stay tuned for exact dates of when we'll be launching season 5. If you're not on my email list yet, I highly recommend going and signing up. It takes 2 seconds. Just go to honeybeebold.com/join. And that is where I'll be sharing updates about upcoming episodes and when episodes come out and all of that. And if there is one thing I want you to carry out of this season, it is full permission to be your true self. Just embrace who you are. Be yourself. I promise you it's going to make all the difference in your business and in every other part of your life. So thank you so much for following along for this season, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Thanks, beautiful human. All right, beautiful human, that's a wrap on today's episode. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. This episode was brought to you by my company, Honeybee Bold, with music by Shmukulele, production by Podium Studios, and sponsored by NitoCal. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with a friend, hit subscribe, and don't forget to rate and review us. It really helps us grow and means the world. See you next time.